while we talk about understanding the need and understanding the rules and regulations which need to be created, we would also need to understand the challenges which we are facing from existing players. Like we have Nilam ma'am, we have Miss Binjan Asid, and we would be Nilam having Mr. Sunil Jain. He is also a developer house from Developer House to kind of come in and talk about the challenges. So I think I'm going to move into the next segment. Idiksha, would you, and thank you for joining in and thank you for always being around with your knowledge. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Idiksha, would you please be sharing the screen once? Thanks. So for all of you, those who have joined in, thank you. We just concluded the last session. This is where, this is exactly where we kind of are moving into our next segment, in which we would like to face about the challenges or the sustainability of the materials, challenges faced while who are promoting either sustainable materials, products, or businesses. So if you go to the next slide, Idiksha, while we have been speaking about the different stakeholders, like while we were talking about in the last segment, we talked about having a need for creating simplified tools for individuals and businesses to understand about sustainability. That is exactly what all about architecture from our team we are trying to do. I'm just going to give a small introduction about, for those who have joined in right now, about what this program is and what is the next step of like how we are seeing how the flow of the program, and then we'll get into the panel discussion. So all about architecture is a digital platform in which we are trying to speak about or getting more people conscious about sustainable constructions, trying to simplify the access or knowledge about materials and technologies by use of green calculators, and getting into the networking phase where people who are working in this segment can actually work together with each other to create a synergy to create more sustainable spaces. So with that, we kind of, Idisha, the next page, please. We had a lovely way to kind of curate this program where we had different partners kind of come in as outreach partner. We have Ms. Apeksha Nagia from MPTL, from MJPL to join us. Ms. Neelam Manjunath, who has been supporting all about architecture for a long time, and she has been coming in with her work, the amazing work she does across with bamboos, with mud, and with while training individuals and businesses. She's just concluded a very nice training session, a month, almost close to a month's training session on bamboo and its work. And Shilpi Kurukshetra, who is in the ESG part to it. So while we created the program, this panel discussion is actually a part of a three-pronged event where we are trying to also access individuals or businesses who have sustainable materials or technologies through a competition and take it out into a physical event on the 5th of November, where we would like to take this discussions into a much more serious way with both investors and businesses on different stakeholders who can start using them or implementing the products or make those products much more like reach a wider community. So that being said, I would like to now take to the context setting of how we see how a construction industry functions. This is like a typical, I would say, a cycle which is shown when we talk about construction materials, which starts off from a space where we are seeing on the top left corner, which is where the raw materials of the products are kind of sourced from. And from there, how it is through use of energy, through different steps, it is kind of made into a new product, and it is goes into the user stage. Through the user stage, which is what we realized in the last discussion, which was being termed as the operation stage, it also creates or has a carbon impact or a weightage around the environment. It is kind of taking in. And then it goes down to the end of the life cycle of the product, where it either is ending up in a waste or the dump yard, or it is being brought back to life by being reused as a raw material. Businesses which have figured out a way to, if it's in a material or a technology way, businesses which have figured out a way where the cycle can be looped in by reducing the waste, are kind of moving to the space which we think about circular economy. And that's true for also real estate sectors, which are planning to build homes or businesses, or homes or offices or spaces where they're choosing products which has a lesser impact on the environment. But how do these businesses face while they're trying to work in present context? Because like rightly we realized in the last discussion, we need a whole lot of codings, we need a whole lot of changes which can make the demand increase. So with this, I think we'll move into the next round. Diksha, if you kind of take in, this is again the simple part of what I talked about, which is the life cycle of how a product is taken in and the different phases in which our choice of a material or a technology with which we are building our home can have an impact on. So it can happen at the concept stage, it can happen at the construction stage, it can happen at the operation stage, or the end of a life where it either ends up in a landfill or it can be brought back into the ecosystem. With that, we move into the next slide, Diksha, where a small graph, before we kind of move into the text of the discussion we have, which shows the impact of the different materials that are used in construction and its impact on global warming. Ready mix wall and floor you would see has the biggest kind of version of the space that it is there, it's taking in, comes followed by concrete, followed by rebarring, and several other. So that being said, like now I would like to kind of just take it to the next panelists who are with us. Architect Neelam Manjunath is joining us in this discussion. She is representing CGBMPT, which is working in the, which is like acting for promotions of many things, including I know if I say vernacular, she is not going to be very happy with it, because she believes that every material that we are locally working with needs to be the present day material. It should not be termed as a vernacular. It should not be termed as a special technology which we are working on with. We have Mr. Sunil Jain, who is a developer from One City, to join us. And we have Ms. Binjan Sheth, who has joined in from Think Green Environments, which is a consultancy and firm which is working with several products and technologies on waste management, water consumption reductions, and things like that. So, Idisha, if you would take down the slide, I would want to kind of invite everyone, you to the discussion. And I'm just trying to give spotlights to my speakers, and I will start off with the panel discussion. Just give me a second, please. Spotlight and thank you so much for joining in today's afternoon's discussion. And in the last segment, what we talked about was in details of the need for sustainable construction. So while we are moving into that discussion, I think this is where we would be asking people who are working in this segment, at least for some time. It might be in terms of designing, it might be in terms of consultancy, it might be in terms of creating the product, the end product. Why would you have started your work, or would you have started to work with sustainable products? If you have, and what made you kind of move towards that? So I would start with Neelam ma'am to start off with the conversation.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's a very again, as you were telling, this is actually not a question for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't start my work with a choice of material, but I feel since my student days, I was feeling that we are supposed to work with the materials which don't require, which are not very highly processed, and even technologies which are more benign. And so for me, that was the standard business practice from the beginning, because for me, architecture defines responsibility, which we need to take it very seriously. And that's how I have actually got into this whole thing. I mean, I won't say got into the whole thing. I started with the same thing, what people today call it sustainable construction of technology. In those days, it was passive architecture design, passive solar design, and there were other names for that. But I think passive solar design or climate responsive design, I think that's how it was. And in that, all the kind of processes of materials which are local, less processed, that came into the picture, and that's how I started with it, I would say.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sunil Jain, would you like to say something on whether you have been able to move towards creating sustainable homes, or how do you see it kind of having, and like, where do you see yourself in this space?
Good evening, everybody. And it is very difficult for a developer to enter into sustainable, because we are constrained with so many constraints like designing and approvals and customer acceptance. We have to keep in mind everything, so that, but we try to include sustainable in our projects wherever possible, wherever permitted, because we have to take permission from approving authority. So whatever is approved, we can construct that thing only. We can use that material only. And we need support of architects like Neelam Manjunath, who can give us design which includes sustainable designing. And we try to include everything which is wherever possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And I will take the same question to Ms. Binjan.
Yes, hello everyone. It's nice to be here. So I would say that since my childhood, I'm inclined to nature, and it is imbibed in me. I have been always vouching for sustainable development, because see, in our culture only, we have been brought up like that, we are basically how do you put it, raised in a sustainable development format. We we feed animals, we care for sunlight, we use water which is necessary. But as we progress and as the urbanization happened and we move away from nature, actually all this waste, excessive wastage has started happening. Since 18 years, we are involved in treating wastewater, and we have been successfully doing it for various industries, and we have installed more than 500 plants, wastewater treatment plants, be it effluent treatment or sewage treatment plants or grey water treatment plants. And there were many challenges we have seen, but I think we should talk about it later. What do you think?
Yes, actually, that actually takes me to the next question, because I would imagine while we have in this panel a good mix of people like Architect Manjunath and you, who are trying to provide a service, from Sunil sir's perspective, it is trying to create and take it out to the customers. And each of these individuals, like in terms of either designing or accessing or getting permissions from authorities to make that project happen, is a whole series of actions which need to culminate into the project that we are envisaging. And I'm sure from the perspective of a designer or a consultant, you would have been facing challenges while you're trying to have conversations in an ecosystem where what should be a normal is not a norm. So I would really like to understand from your experiences what the challenges are, whether it is in terms of convincing end users, it might be in terms of and working with authorities, or it might be even getting access to the knowledge that we are trying to create the sustainable space with. Neelam ma'am, would you like to take the question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, challenges have been many. Actually, in fact, it even started in my student life itself when we were told to start design a block of apartments, and there were 4 apartments on each floor, and I had a different plan for each apartment, because depending on the orientations that we had, and where should be my living room and where should be my bedroom, and depending on the light and the natural ventilation and things like that. And my professor didn't like it, because according to him, it had to be the same. So challenges have been beginning right from there. And several times, in fact, I flunked in design in my second year because of these kind of principles. And there was climatology in second year. And I was very dogged about how it has to be designed, and the professors just would not agree. So it started right from there. And I think many students even today face these kind of challenges because they don't find that kind of a support in academics by the professors, even at the student level. And then when you come to practice, of course, when I started in Delhi, and then I moved to Nagpur, and then finally to Bangalore. And coming to Bangalore, Vastu was one big fellow that was happening here. And, not that it really affected me, but as a struggling architect, these things did matter. But even then, I have kept my I would say, integrity as an ethics as a principle, and all the principles that I had been advocating even when I was a student. And it has been tough. It is very tough, actually. For example, one time one DC asked me, that why should I use bamboo? Can you show me an example? I said, if you do not give the project right now, I think 20 years hence, again, somebody will be asking the same question. And so there would be no answer to that, actually. And so that, that's like one of the things. And that's about bamboo. But even with other things, like you have the systems, you have rainwater harvesting, you have all these other things that we do, I have been doing. People don't really know. And who will do that advocacy is a very big question. And as architects, for us to go and have this backward linkages to advocacy, I have gone to advocacy and I've been doing it for several years, just to see that the sustainability comes into the picture in the mainstream. It has hurt my profession a lot. And I can see that there are small children who are doing big projects, whereas I am like put in a silo. One is a bamboo architect, and one is a sustainable architect, and another is a bamboo architect. So you cannot be given bigger projects, they think. And the whole thing is, irony of the fact is that we can do what all other people are doing and more. And this is something which people don't realize. Because I can do a conventional building because it's very easy to do it. I'm using a tougher thing, so I can do that. And this both is something which is even, and even the fraternity for that matter, even our architecture fraternity, I am more like, I'm not an architect, according to them, and a designer who probably has taken up one material and she doesn't even think about the building design. That's what is done. So it took me a very long time to, even when I was getting awards, it started with rural architecture. So either you are branded as your thing as rural excellence in rural architecture. That was my first award, and then it became to bamboo. And then after quite a few years, it started being counted as sustainable building awards or prizes. So it has been quite a struggle, and it has taken my complete for practice in a completely different trajectory. And even though I keep telling that bamboo is only one of the materials, because and there's another factor is the bamboo sector. The bamboo sector thinks I am not a good bamboo architect because I don't do all bamboo buildings, because I believe that you cannot really live in all bamboo buildings, and you should not have. They are expensive, they are difficult to maintain, because all bamboo buildings can happen only in some areas, not every area. And they can only be in the niche market. So if as an architect, I want to mainstream a material like bamboo, it has to be in mainstream architecture and not in niche architecture. So it's like, it's a very difficult proposition. I mean, as my co-panelist, Mr. Seth has is speaking about that, Jan Saab, about, this in the real estate sector. For architects, even worst, because our, what do you say, profit in the profession is in the realm of 0.5 to 1% probably, or even less of the project cost. And if we get to this kind of practices within that, it is like you are absolutely in the negative all the time. You are simply fighting. You are economically unsustainable completely for being sustainable environmentally. And this is a very big challenge that is there for us. And there are many architects, like after they have done and they have earned their millions, and then they would say, okay, I will do one CSR project where this will happen. It's like you do everything else, and and then I will go to Kashi and I'll just say I'm rid of all my sins. Either you are a sustainable architect or you are not. There cannot be a midway, and that is something which is very and if and I would really say, if each one of the architect, I think in Sairi's program itself, last program that I was there on, I think there was a survey kind of a thing, and a lot of many people had called. Hardly any practicing architect came on board, because they probably could not have answered that question, that why they do what they do, knowing that it is hurting the environment in such a big manner. And that's why people don't want to even come on board for those kind of there were more academics, and academic people you cannot even count for that matter, because it's very easy to teach. Unless until you walk the talk, you should not be talking the walk. And that is something which I am very, very particular about. You have to do both. You have to walk the talk. You also have to talk the walk. I mean, about the walk, that, I have walked and I have done this and I have done that. And that is something, it's a very tough, it's very challenging, this thing, but things are much better today. I'm very sure of what it was 34 years and even more. I mean, 1982, I joined architecture, so it's 40 years literally. And I have been fighting this journey all these years, and it's very tiring. Let me tell you, it's very, very tiring. But there are a lot of changes, and I see a lot of youngsters who are much more aware, and they want to do things. They are very committed, and they need a lot of direction, which they don't get either in the college or in the field by senior people. Everyone is after, I mean, I don't want to take names, but more like Zaha Hadid and Frank Gehry and people like that. And I mean, you do a workshop with them, and people are ready to pay any amount and come to learn and do these kind of things. And even academic in the colleges, they are encouraged to do that kind of a work. And these are things like, even for promoting this kind of a thing, I had gone to Green Skilling Council for skilling. Green Skilling Council does not have any provision. We do not have provision. For 2 years, we tried for any kind of a sustenance for courseware development for mud and bamboo. There is no support. You go for concrete, you go for green concrete and all that. There are lots of them there. But there is nothing for these kind of, I mean, there is no support. I mean, that's the kind of ecosystem you are working in. And we are like more like those middle class population, because the lower class doesn't pay taxes, the upper class doesn't pay taxes. They don't need to follow any culture. The middle class has to follow all culture and take the burden of everything else. So the few architects who are really trying to do something are really burdened with all the things of global warming and doing things and all those kind of things, while the the cream is taken away by all the other people who are the green makes good business sense. That's I do not know what to really say about that, because the capitalists have hijacked the green movement nicely. So the green
Very-
movement also in terms of your electric cars and all these kind of things, they all, where the electricity for the car will come from, electricity to light a house. So these are some things which really, and even the your what is that? Our in the terms of energy, wind energy, and all those towers that are made, and the life of those towers is very short. I mean, where do you get that material to work for that? And when they stand in idling, a lot of power gets lost in idling itself in all these ones. So there's a whole lot of this thing created by, and the same people who celebrate and sponsor the Earth Day, they go and do the same business of fossil fuels and other things. I mean, how do you really, and it's a big challenge to, speaking about it in public forum itself is a big challenge. I mean, to follow that. It's like a,
I would like to just point out a couple of things to what Apeksha ma'am said before I move on to Sunil sir. I have visited Apeksha ma'am's house. It's made of bamboo and mud, and the spans that she has created are something we would be struggling to create with steel and concrete structures. It has an amazing feel to it, and I was surprised to look so nicely tucked in a house within the suburbs of Bangalore that she has created. And I keep on talking about the heights. And ma'am, if I'm not wrong, you have used coffered ceilings up there to give the entire span of the building within your space as well. So it
Yes.
is how it is. And while we are talking, like while I really respect you for walking the talk and kind of talking the walk the both same way. I think that is where businesses where developer houses are face a challenge to actually find people who are honest and have the skill sets. I would like to hear from Sunil sir about the challenges while if you are trying to go in, maybe it is in terms of finding the regulations, it might be in terms of finding manpower, it might be in terms of finding consultants or even understanding, which is within the scope of all the jargons that we talk about, what sustainability is. How do you what are the challenges you face while you're kind of in this space?
Actually, challenges are on all the front. First, consultants are not available who can advise on sustainable material or design. And second thing, material is not available, skilled labor is not available. So what we have to do is we have to keep a balance between sustainability and affordability and practicality. So we don't have to be into 100% sustainable housing or project or material, because that is impossible. That is a fashionable statement. Basically, that is not for middle class or poor class sustainability. It is possible for a lower class because they make their own houses. If we go into a builder-built house, so it is not practical to give a complete sustainable house. So we have to make a design which is the combination of both. So it is fashionable also, it is sustainable, and it is practical, for which everything is available. And I tell you, in our one project, what is our aim always is to procure material which is locally available and to employ local people so that they will get the job then there itself. So in one of our project, we used the stone choket. Wooden, instead of wooden or iron choket, we used stone. So that was very unusual thing for us to do. And that is successful. Because in that area, I saw that some people were using that type of choket in their houses. So I said, why not this? This is more cheap, more practical. Material is available locally. So that is practical. We can do this type of things. And madam should advise that also.
Right. And I think that is where each panelist, I am also asking one question, whether the perception of sustainability being costly through or not true? So I will take
No,
up this
no.
question in the next, in the next point, because that is the most controversial question, which kind of deters many people to move towards sustainability. So I think I have been talking about a bit of a numbers with Gunjan also while we were talking about the space. I will come back to that point. I'm taking that as a note. I'll come back to that point to have Sunil sir's opinion on it also. But from Gunjan also, I would like to know her challenges as a consultant. Like, while Sir says he does not get hold of consultants who have sustainable options with them, as a consultant, how do you feel like, or how easy or difficult it is for you to go in with sustainable materials when you are trying to go to your clients?
So let me put it this way, 80% of global wastewater is not being treated currently as per the data. And by 2050, 55% of people will live under water scarce areas. Now, the thing is that 18 years into this field, and we have come to know that why people are not ready to treat wastewater. Why? I mean, you need to ask them. And we came up with many answers. That one is that it is very costly, lack of awareness. Somebody say the smell issue is coming. Somebody would not care what happens to the river, or what they would just throw water in the river, or they would not care the groundwater is depleting and everything. One is that they don't know, as Sir said rightly, whom to contact. Then there was many other technical issues, if I may say. There was while designing a wastewater treatment plant, there were 4 agencies. Suppose design consultants came into the picture, then civil contractor for RCC plant, civil contractor came into the picture, then electromechanical, and the end user. The end user was absolutely clueless at what is happening. And then the governing authorities come and they would put pressure on them. The plant is not working. So to save all this, they would not put wastewater treatment plant only. So then we came to know, and we thought, we just concluded these are the 10 topics that they are facing. So we came up with a solution that we will build a plant in such a way that it is cost effective. They could save up to 30 to 40% of the cost what they generally paid, or no smell issue, could be a plug and play plant, even a watchman can run it. And all these things could be installed underground, above the ground, wherever. So all these things led us to then the awareness part that you are doing currently, it's exceptional. People were not aware about such technologies exist, and they can do it and they can afford it. So now only thing that technologically we are advanced, but only thing that people need to know. So the awareness is the key, that if you have intention to do it, there is a technology, there are consultants, there are people who are vouching for nature. You just have to create an awareness, which you guys are doing, which is exceptional. So thank you so much on our behalf. And ma'am, we had a bamboo office 20 years back, and it was a sight to see. People used to come visit our office to see the bamboo structure and furnitures, and all the terraces were built by bamboo decorations and everything. So I know how it looks. It's just amazing, Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gunjan, for that. And I think this is the most, I would say, the discussed and the most challenging place where we have a core few designers and professionals who are bringing in solutions which are cost effective, which have the lesser impact on the environment like we hope for. At the same time, within the profession, we have a whole amount of businesses which does not create that similar impact. The number of educated and professionals who have that skill set is limited. And at the end of the day, businesses who are like developer houses or individuals who are trying to make their home struggle to differentiate or understand where to kind of take the leap of faith and not go as per herd mentality, or I might say as per standard processes which even the government agencies are promoting. So I think that is where it's a big challenge which the industry is facing right now. And I don't think this can, of course, be brought, like we can bring a solution in this discussion. It is just about understanding, like, that is where we are standing, and we need to maybe move forward from there. And since every one of you have been in this industry for some time now, like it is a couple of decades, ma'am is here from the time I think I was born. So, and I can imagine Sunil sir's business also going that old, and yours is also close to 2 decades. I would like to understand, do you see a change in perception from the different stakeholders? It might be end users, it might be in terms of people who are giving authorities who are kind of helping you make that business happen. Do you see a change within the ecosystem right now in present 2022, or is it the same like when you had started back? Neelam ma'am, would you like to take that?
Yeah, actually, there is a lot of change, I would rather say. I mean, and from the time I started, I mean, in Bangalore, I came in 94, and active practice, you can say, I started from 95 here. But I was practicing since 91, but that would, I would rather say, but there's a lot of change definitely has happened. And now there are clients who come if they want a eco-friendly house construction to be done, then they come to me. And especially people who are very serious about it. I mean, that's how it happened. Though some time back, they would develop a cold feet halfway and run away. And but slowly things have changed, and even government agencies, they have been actually approaching us, even changing some of the terms and conditions in AOIs to see that sustainability is actually taking advice from us how to incorporate that into tenders and things like that. It has happened quite often. In fact, it started happening from 2015-16 in a very big way, actually. But unfortunately, the demonetization, and then we had the election, and we had this further election, and then COVID, and all these things. So things are slightly on the back burner, but people have changed, and then there are things being followed, and even architects are slowly started moving towards thinking that they are supposed to be now. If they don't do, they won't probably in future they will be compulsorily have to do, brand themselves as somewhere sustainable. Otherwise, it may become very difficult. And circularity and sustainable strategies kind of terms people have started using, though even now many of them just use it for terms and greenwash rather than otherwise. But the trend is there, and people are making efforts, and that is, I would say, about, as I said, the clients, other people, even in colleges, and very much so in the young generation and the students. We do see a lot of awareness, and in my office, at least, I have been seeing more and more children who come here, and they are interested in refugee housings. They see all these kind of problems happening across the world, and disaster housing, disaster management, and they are the kind of things that they talk about. And people who research on sustainable materials, because there are not many architects who use materiality as a proper design tool. And that is something which they come to us, because we do a lot of experiment in terms of technologies and material science as well in our buildings. I mean, that's right into the building. And so I think after these years it has happened, but it is, I think, still a challenge if there's a new architect who comes, and that will be a challenge to them. But perceptions have changed, and there's still a lot more to change, but things have changed, I think. And I think in the first session, there was a discussion about codes and things to change. If those things happen, these changes will happen much faster. And codes, again, codes cannot be just kept in the labs, because if you see like that, there's a lot of research lying all around the world, with trillions and trillions of dollars of research done, and it is all in the files and things, but not brought from there to the land. And for that, we need professionals who actually need to get their acts together to be able to doing that. But again, for that, if you are an architect and you want to practice sustainability, and people don't live sustainably, how do you get projects of sustainability in that case? And this was a question very early, which I said, and the same thing goes, I think, for Mr. Jain. And if people don't want sustainable houses, how can he build? What will he sell? I mean, that's another very, very relevant question. But those things have changed, and there have been some pioneers like BCIL in Bangalore, and there are some other developers who have tried to do a pioneering work, and they all have suffered a lot of losses. They all have suffered a lot of problems, but those have changed a lot. IGBC also brought a lot of changes from 2002. It came to India, though it was, I'm very sorry to be being so blunt about it, but it was more like a air conditioning selling agency in the beginning, rather than actually a sustainability or green building kind of a thing at that time. But they have undergone a lot of transformation, and Griha has been doing a good work. With these things, perceptions are changing, but there are a lot of things floating in terms of sustainability. It is being used more like a .com kind of a word, and which, like a myth, it has to be busted. And so lately I have been using the word simplicity rather than sustainability, which I think defines that thing a little better than sustainability, I suppose. So simple buildings, simple lifestyle, simple living.
Yeah.
And I think that's what will sustain us into the new future, I think.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. And we do have an IGBC panelist for the next round as well. So with the Griha panelist in the first round, we have the next person with the next discussion, trying to understand the aids that they are bringing in. So that's there. But like with the same point, I would go to Sunil sir. And do you see a change in the perception through your experience of trying to create the real estate spaces that you have been doing, sir?
Yeah, there is a lot of change as far as sustainability goes. From the government point of view also, now there is more emphasis on reuse of water. So STP now, there is, in all our projects, we are having STP, and we are reusing water generated through STP. And in some cases, we carry the water from one project to another for horticulture purposes or any other purpose. So because actually government is also proactive in this field. Now the boring is not allowed. It is not easy to extract water from the earth. So you have to use that water. So we are also using that water for multi-purpose, for flushing purpose. So because of government regulations, we are using that water more efficiently. And also environment is, as far as the environment is concerned, now the pollution department is very active. They see everything. We are maintaining everything. And this, what you say, solid management, solid waste management is also very active. Now we can't dispose of. So government is also very active, and because of government regulations, we follow regulations, so we are also very active. So we are adding to that also.
Understood, sir. And in the same line, Bintan, do you want to add on something?
Yes, I'll be honest, like Neelam ma'am. So there are two things. In India, there is a law that, you have to have STP, and it is so nice to hear from Sunil sir that he has actually installed a sewage treatment plant and reusing water. While we have also seen people in Gujarat renting the plant for BU purpose only. They would rent a plant And as far BU comes, and then they will, again give it back. So not because they want to treat the wastewater and reuse for the gardening or irrigation or any other purposes. They just do it because authority has compelled them to do it. Now they do not understand one thing, that you are not doing anything for anybody. You are doing it for your future generation, your own self. So if that awareness doesn't come from within, then it is not, people will find a way to how to get rid of a law or something like that. But having said that, I have seen so many people who are really coming to us for wastewater treatment, even though it is not compulsory. So that is a very, very, very positive and hopeful state. And I see my daughter also being so environmentally conscious. So I see future that what we did as a generation, they are going to do it much better than us. That is what I think. So Sunil sir, thank you so much. There are very few builders like you, and keep up the work. And if we can be of any help anywhere, just let us know. And ma'am, thank you so much for being honest. I get the power to be honest as well in the in this panel. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Binjan, for Binjan, for that. And yeah, I think the aim of this platform is to try and create this honest spaces of conversation, because unless and until we really understand our pain points, I don't
Correct.
think we would be able to move beyond that. We would always be stuck in the circle of what leads to cold wars for countries to fight across, because they don't talk to each other and we do not understand the challenge which in real life is stopping someone from taking a certain decision or a process of taking a certain decision.
Yes.
From your all experiences, I would like to take one thing which you think can actually make or will help creating an opportunities for having sustainable spaces in the future. Like in the last round where we spoke, it was also about educating young students, young professionals. It was about empowering the young generation to create the demand. So once they start creating a demand is what we would be supplying in. Till people have that demand, we don't supply it. So that's a very small part of the economics. But I would also like to take from your perspective, what do you feel is that one thing that needs to be done to help in creating the opportunities for the future? Neelam ma'am, please.
Yeah, so I feel skilling in the sustainability sector is a huge gap. We have a lot of research, we have professionals who want to do it, even we don't have skilled people. And I'm not talking about skilling only on field work. I'm talking about, because there's a difference between educated people and skilled people. Skilled people are employable. Educated people need not be employable. And because of this difference, if you see the sustainable sector, you want to do rainwater harvesting, you don't have rainwater harvesting specialists or vendors or people or on the ground people. I mean, I'm talking about the whole vertical, suppose I take it like that. And same case with other things. If you go for solar, you don't have proper, if you want to install a solar PV, I have worked with Tata BP Solar, I have worked with MV, I have worked with different Technomax and this kind of people. Extremely, extremely poor service or no service at all, in fact. And this is something like very, any sector you want to develop has to have skilled people in it. And if we want to have a sustainability sector developed, so we have to have people in the sustainability sector. And we have been talking for 20 years now, and that's why my organization CGBMT has been doing skilling, not just in bamboo, because people know about bamboo, because that's how it has been projected, but we have been doing in how to design beyond sustainability. We have been teaching masons carpenters and all kinds of people, policymakers, skilling them into the sustainability sector, literally advocacy and skilling, both. So starting with advocacy to create the demand and then skilling to supply to that demand. And this is something which is, I feel, very important. So we have started this CGBMT School of Simple Living, in which we have made these 5 faculties, which is Faculty of Earth and Faculty of Air and Faculty of all the 5 elements that we talk about, because sustainability is about balancing a dynamic balance between all these things, which in our body, in the nature, in whatever, they have to be balanced, and that's what we have lost. And that's why the global warming. So in each sector, we are working with, like in Earth, we have materials, and we also have waste management. Then in water, we have groundwater management, rainwater harvesting, and things like that. And then we have in energy, similarly in space. In space, we have safe spaces, then parameters of safe spaces. How do you really make spaces safe? So in all kind of respect. In that one, we also looking at psychological aspects of a space, which is very important. And of course, in terms of air, so we have air pollution. As we all saw, the COVID thing, it was air pollution was the main reason behind. So through which particular one factor will suddenly run out of proportion and completely freeze the world, or we do not know. And we really have to be careful about. So that is something. So we are trying to do skilling in each sector. And I mean, that's one small bit that I'm trying to do from my side. And we are looking at a lot of partners and people. And if people can invest and partner with us, any part of the country or the world, we would be very happy to do that. Because I do feel skilling is the biggest gap, and that is there. And with that, we should be able to have a better, robust, sustainable sector. And I'm not talking about just buildings. I'm talking about sustainability in general. Habitats, sustainable habitats, let's say, like that.
Thank you, ma'am. And I would like to take the same question to Sunil, sir. What do you feel would be one of those things which can help in creating the sustainable future from your perspective?
So first of all, we must create awareness in general public, in government, in departments, and developer will follow everything. Because if there is people demand is there, then they will create that. So first thing is first we have to educate everybody about the sustainability of environment, so that people must be aware that sustainability is the most important thing. Because if we destroy our environment, our nature, then there will be no future for our future generations. So first thing is you architects, consultants have a major role in this. So make this type of help government to draft this type of policies, that there should be sustainable development, because a developer has to follow the rules of the law, and whatever is the law there, they have to follow, and they will follow. Everybody fall in line when law is there. And secondly, you said, well said, skilled labor is required. First, you create the awareness, then skilled labor is there. That is the most important requirement. Because in everywhere, in every field, you don't have skilled people. India has a large population, but not skilled people. So these two are the gaps which has to be fulfilled. So it was first we fulfill these gaps, then there will be major demand in this field.
Thank you, sir. And I think you're also following the same thread where last we spoke, that the rules need to be, like the things that we're asking for need to be part of the codes that are there. Like if the rules are there, people would be forced to kind of get into that space. So it needs to kind of maybe come down as a top-down approach where people are kind of pushed into that space. So thank you for that. And Binjan, over to you. What do you feel from your perspective as a
Yeah, so continue on the trail. I would say rules are necessary, absolutely necessary, but it should not be like the helmet rule. So when you have a traffic police, you wear a helmet, and when he is not there, you put down the helmet, you know. So helmet is for your safety. So whatever you are doing, whatever is for your future, your future's future. So that is what you are doing. So awareness and the vigilance. Rule is being made, but is it being followed? If not, what is the reason? Number one, lack of awareness, uh, uh, because people do not want to do it, but why? So that is the what you guys are doing. I think it is just amazing, providing such platforms. And one thing I would like to say, that people believe that if they go for sustainable thing, it is costly. No, 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 no. That is a misconception. It is not costly at all. So if you see in our field, 1,000 liter is treated in just 5 rupees. 5 rupees. What is 5 rupees in today's term? So even any kind of the bamboo that ma'am is saying, it is not costly at all. So the general lack of information, lack of vigilance, and lack of awareness is the something we need to address on, I think.
Thank you so much. And I think we have somehow managed to reach 5 o'clock almost. So whether we are kind of in a space where I really want to have this conversation going on. Couple of points which are coming across at the same point is for the rules to be there. One is that is kind of coming throughout both the panel discussions. The second one about the cost effectiveness part. For some reason, sustainability has been plugged as being very costly. So that is where the perception of what sustainability is maybe is limited to the cost factor, where people take a back step and they do not know exactly what are the tools and the technologies which they need to work with to actually move towards sustainable construction. So I think that's a huge gap in the industry. Like we mentioned in the last panel as well, real estate sector in India is something which is there for just a couple of decades. Like it's not a very old sector, it's not more than 40 years old. It's like 30 or 40, close to that, where we are seeing this kind of a huge development happening. But I would imagine conversations like this is what is going to help us move towards creating more sustainable spaces. So thank you for your time. And if you have, we have just 3 more minutes. If someone wants to give me a concluding remark, I would like to hear that. Ma'am, do you want to add on to that? Sunil sir, do you want to add anything to that? Then we can maybe end this session here.
Okay, so I think cost is the last question. It is there about expensive. I think as I think you rightly said, it has been wrongly projected as expensive. It's actually not. And I don't think in any case it will be more than the conventional construction cost. Definitely will be less. But what people think that sustainable construction should be costing less, the perception is should be costing less, and that's why they call it expensive. It's not the otherwise. Nobody calls cement construction expensive because they think it deserves that cost. And this deserving the cost is where the whole problem lies. And so there's a huge discount, like about bamboo. I think we have all this very Bali kind of style that everyone thinks is the epitome of construction with bamboo. I'm getting that through that example because people keep thinking like that. That is definitely expensive. That is around 15 to 20,000 rupees a square feet. And that's like huge. And people will give that cost to those Bali people who do that construction. But here, if I want to give a house even at 3,000 rupees, they'll say bamboo ke liye kuch expensive nahi hai. So it's like you want bamboo to compete with cement, concrete, steel, which is a processed material in the factories already undergone processing to perform like a processed material, but cost like something like a tambu, like a tent. which is not possible. And same thing with mud, same thing with all these kind of things. I mean, all these technologies, right? Rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting and using that water is absolutely cheap as even the wastewater treatment is very, very cheap. And the perception becomes, something which has been a big thing, which really needs to be busted. And a lot of awareness. And I think, as she was telling, that it is platforms like yours, which is trying to connect people together. I think networking is another factor, that's one, and database creation, another, I think, which you are trying to do.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way, and it's a very good initiative, I must say, to connect people together, because it's like people would know that, this works and this doesn't work, and how these things works. Even the initial discussions, I think we had discussions with you about just a consultancy thing on, one sitting, small fee they pay, and they know, they have half an hour, 45 minutes or 1 hour, and then they know about the pros and cons and things. That's, I think, it's a good platform like this. I think it will really help, is what I feel. Networking is another factor, which will make people understand sustainability in a better manner, and save their time in material procurement and vendor procurement, consultants, where to go and things like. I think that would really help if it is developed well. That's what I think.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. And yes, the last point was sustainability, about the cost part, and we would be just crossing the time with it. So if you want to end your concluding remark with that, that would be great. Yeah. Sunil, sir? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think cost, I don't think, is a major factor in sustainable development. Actually, I find it more cost effective than anything else. If we take it in long term, it is more cost effective. But the problem is there because lack of awareness and lack of skilled labor. So these two are the constraints, not cost. I find it more cost effective than anything else.
Okay,
but we don't get the right material at the right place, and we don't have skilled labor. We have to find it. It is very difficult to find skilled labor. So we go for conventional material because that is easily available and labor is easily available. So we go for that.
Understood.
Instead of going for this iron fencing, I would like to go for this bamboo fencing. That is more cost effective and more durable, and there is no risk of theft also. Iron fencing will be, there is always risk of theft, and for this there is no risk. But I cannot find the material and labor, skilled labor, that is not available. So there are so many things we can do with this bamboo also.
Thank
so
you,
where
sir.
There is no,
Yeah. No, I completely understand. I have worked for real estate sector for almost 15, 16 years, and it is a big challenge to actually find the skilled person to come and do. And by the time we actually end up finding the person, maybe the project timeline is off. So we cannot have that kind of, I would say, comfort to sit down and keep on searching for people to make that happen. And that also does end up being a bottleneck for moving towards sustainability. And hence, like ma'am pointed, the space that we are trying to create to give access to people who are there and help them improve upon their skill sets as well, like through collaborations, through communications, through interactive processes. So that is one of the place where we can really spark the conversations around this. Binjan, any concluding remark? Because I think we have crossed our timeline and the last.
I want to concluding remark. ढूंढने से तो भगवान भी मिल जाता है. So you are creating this platform to make people aware about this. So thank you. I just want to share that. That's it.
Thank you so much. And thank you to this nice panelists for joining in. And I think we will now move on to the next segment. We have our panelists who have joined in out here. This was a very interesting take because for me, I think we had a very honest conversation surrounding certain very difficult points. We were not sure which direction the conversation would end up, but we did have a very honest conversation about the challenges the different stakeholders would feel. So, and maybe by such conversations, by such communications, by such understanding, and understanding what are the tools that we have in the present ecosystem, we can actually move towards creating more sustainable spaces. So that actually takes me to the, like I am saying a thank you to all of you, and I will be in touch for sure because this is just a journey on which we have imbibed upon, and I'm going to move into the next discussion. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you,
Thank
Sari.
you.
Thank you for the invite. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.